in which I shed the image. From the top of my heart, in its unclouded dark, I stood on sinking feet, the margin gone out of earshot, half a page across, whose pause protrudes, works and breaks, a joke on near and far. A lick of calm trauma where note and light meet, where plot holes grow bigger than the plot itself. In skies, struck wisps, gauze shade or cloud, rows of parked cars. I've painted myself a corner and can't get into it. The genome's fibrous surface flailing outward. As errancies wander time's apertures in seed drift, in which I shed the image, fake labyrinth with a real exit. The World Company. And the World Company is like a telecommunications holding company in the small town of Lawrence, Kansas, where I lived for a while. And they control all like, cable, newsprint, internet kind of service there. And I had some kind of interesting interfaces with them while I lived there. But they control everything, so it's kind of a matter of how do you address the World Company except through one of their own channels, you know? And so it occasioned a lot of thought about embodiment and subjectivity, and they're called the World Company, for Christ's sake. So this is my description of the World Company. Here, flailing in perfect orbit, the world's afforded what it's cost us. Widow channels back up across what they cancel. First vintage, first glitch where the book blurs shut. Where may returning all to robocall exhaust the conjurer as amps crave wakefulness. And in between its doubled notes may thrash these data-fracked whiteouts of eyes high beyond aura and obstacle, redial elided. Begins with machines will bring us closer, of a stump hulked inside the cord, impediments learning to sing through the snarl of rooms, purse like leaves from a seed. A tick of ethic to this, one world veils the next until another, soon, arriving in a hatch pattern that wants to beam to you blooms and turns its back, remote as the ritual window through which there's just glass. A life happens again, and that is enough to unlearn which events come to pass until those that don't start to catch. In the shape of the world whose occasions relapse, I can meander, mind in hand, around the picky darkness until, funded and culminating, a language-long crowd of attentions sent dissembling into dirt like cursive in the permanent air, wild above waist and scale, and takes to raving in the killed mirror we'd used to rake our moods across their mind, throbs, a throne to go flagrant in, sirens and thickly lined suns, all to avoid coarse chores of one's business, how to shamble away through the day's ills folding over and or over, forgetfully itself. The world comes with company, no problem there, since reason's already such a purchase. You can shiver wherever the sun is and raise yourself and never rise. Oh, rest is complex, but it trusts us to be these imaginary brackets on that cloud no single count is right about. It takes time, I meant to invent another good way in. But how automatic's the way back to the actual? As I grow fleshed out with verbiage, arable, irreparable, name and number checked by landfill services whose peregrinations slave a kind of rainfall down my street, which with feckless alacrity never ends. A paid and paying body, having said all the preceding, however errant, however ungarrulous, only totally reforms, half dead to, half alive for, half coated over, half shown nothing but noise under moneyed shade, shade that is the subject of this work, shade that petrifies outside the floodlights, about to found a company in its figure-headed haste to get it faded and straight before the seams show. It's time to change states. Follow the bouncing ball to what's on now, shadow and soul, rod and cone, until no one's exempt from the telling of time, the nerve it takes to sound it through, so that no one isn't thinking it's too loud in here for it not to be cold out, in cases traceable to everyone. What the rush is starts somewhere almost perfectly as unrelated as known, its world occurring not to listen but to walk through, as the wait time takes up the whole room. Long-time listener, first-time caller. I saw a nature documentary about nature in general called Of Everything Only in Infinitesimal Slivers Not Elsewhere. Inset with kneecaps shattered by an email. These are the risks we take. Wake up! It's Tuesday. I don't know what day it is. Hold that thought. On second thought, don't. Light dilates here and can contract somewhere else. Walk us through it. The audience begs the dreaming speech. Are lungs considered guts? Is an ear a digit or a limb? And on into volume, standing with traffic, fused to the present, but not to its tense, in allowance and effort's sanguine whack. There may be lots to toggle back and forth about, but come to think of it, though the species is in me, I am neutral. That's Stephen Rutherford. Such flex. Divine and uneasy origins. Given the right woods, in pools and ashwork, carved at distances above you, are that thing within a radius, void and fluttering, twined rope around itself by holding still, inside the push my knocked-out wind made when space leaned in, an odor, a chime, in unenvisionable, middle-distanced and pent acres where only oceans see night, some ways back and hungered, vague heart-scald, grew gray and shone around on a playground, drift into wordy years of not leaving the office. I fly, my dust will be what I am. In dark grass behind festival fencing, the rhythm thinning as it nears the shore, whence self's pestered by identities and mind's bad aim that grieves the heavens to see it only breathe to refute the air. Trim blocks of no future ago, no finer circles of sun shadow on the monitors lodged around it, and through which I've gathered there are hours that night in this hemisphere devotes solely to the Pacific Ocean, and fell into a prayer of you are hovering 10 feet above the surface of it. You look down, and through unchanging states fell cinerescent as cirrus on tin, and not a word of sleep. As in the Borges poem, neither of his non-ones knows he wrote. To hear through myopia with less spelled sentences cast gladly out, as I were droughted flesh on hold, heaped pliant past jigsaw aspects of resinous chrysalis, feeling which ends which, in that sap held, in crescent solace, within arm's reach of sustenance, runs at the mouth in Stevensy noon break, ice grass crashing underfoot to pull the clouds down, a web between the eyes of what's within is still accept us, or spelling just isn't in this alphabet, of old stars outside screaming, accelerate! In tone and theory, oily at dawn, and in bones facing it, everything is fire. The animist, being someone who believes that everything has a soul. Is that my understanding? No, correct me. Oh, you were saying
agreeing.
Oh, because you use these words and you don't realize.
Everything's alive?
Am I right? Huh?
Everything's alive?
Everything is alive, yes.
Yeah, and animism.
I don't know if it uses soul.
Yeah, that's correct. The spirit, or some kind of animating sentient influence that acts on other things around it. Yeah.
Or at least is aware.
Or at least what?
At least is aware.
Is aware. Yeah. But not quite conscious necessarily.
Define consciousness.
No.
I'm glad to drop this now and we define consciousness.
Too many ideas.
Yeah.
Veto.
Okay. The
Spinoza, done.
Got a lot accomplished.
Same thing, that's panpsychism. Anyway.
The animist. That amber would turn on fossil was obvious, thought I from an incoming concussion across proper channels. Looking down silken inlets, I found a law to the worsening dream, a matter of timing scattered tightly into vast blanks that became seams. Liberation's agon, paroxysm for a glimpse. A line from Dante, maybe. The past is madness, it says. The past is not real. The chorus revolts in cornflower, blue and silk gray, as what syntax that thinks it describes this dissolves and is the summer sun again. Horizon in its cirrus sleeve, untorn tissue and cartilage chiming in on laminal dawns, half a mind away. I am at a loss, but which? And while you're on the line with that hand in the air, rain coming in the storm screen, it's great to take ages to say what all there is. Because fuck time's appetites. We're always being made to wait for more bottled water to arrive in the drunk tank, keeping us up at all hours between the future and whatever's happening now, still calling back for more of that music we were sold by the whole music people, impoverishers, so that now only no one's own hands shape such gusts of runoff from the old before-after factory. The subject-object ratio radiant as fluoride in the writer's mouth. Its songs already almost partly and not sung, among burdens the lifting of which is their reason for falling so solidly on all sides into a wayside's chimes. That's the season, and it's thrashing through channels the world under. Consonants watch. It's been dawn ever since. bind down and bound through us, O Hessian metal angels in effigy, among which grew ways a body's open mouth could blast past its own fabrication. I knew then what I know now, namely, there never was a time I couldn't say just that. There's hieroglyphic fog outside tonight, and in it, using breath to speak, a silhouetted emptiness of accomplishments lost, and, being also unsought, is nowhere and nowhere else. Remaining leaves. Where from the warm jets? I wish now to conflate intro with index and otherwise get the work done. All my relations, your oblivious and increasing happinesses. No need to act the restless, decadent, and generally blurry courier stuck dusting hindsight-wise for some buried deed. Oh, I like to look alive, as some such surface, what we cut up, sprouts half the time this is taking away. Poem. 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 Now. Between boredom and shock, we oscillate, gods and I, gnawing on the phrase end to end, with attraction and resistance, suppositions and same pages, a glowing green exit sign busy at its frigid vigil posits through another sort of pointlessly gorgeous coastal afternoon, music by James Ferraro. Blinkered and ratchety from half a lifetime of NorCal cannabis and the lame doom of state school student debt. Excesses of ellipses distinguish you whose drones open wide and mouth to whisper this, boxing phonemes from hot cogitations, licked insanely by daylight through senile and skin-tight distances. Skiff grooving unreflective and bark adrift on trunks. The finest life is turned into insipid fiction pretty quickly. Cloudless blue upper place wherein sun disappears everywhere. The universe is fine, it has its place is all I'm saying. A piece of coffee linking me to sleep. Indifference. Home enough in one world, the unmeant leading to me. Walking away is affected. Noon's singed fogs a lost clemency. Hearing this, in premise, on high-end equipment, with stitches and swaths. Thanks.